Okay. Hey everyone. Welcome to this Amaze panel where we're going to be discussing interesting insights you can find from the Zambian game development scene. So I have three guests who are from different parts of the Zambian game development scene, and we're going to be discussing our own insights right after we jump into some history about the Zambian game development scene and share a few videos for you. Um, Feel free to ask any questions in the comments if you have any as we go along. So, the history, where did it all begin? The first time I was aware, or the first time I heard about any type of game development that was happening in Zambia, was after I joined a place called Bongo Hive, and I heard that there was someone who hosted a game development workshop like a few months ago. So I joined in about May or March, I think March 2013. And I heard that, oh, there was a game development workshop earlier this year. And someone called Ifunga who has a really cool game for himself, was the one hosting it. So I was really curious about that and I dug into it a bit more. And I found out that oh, he has this really cool fighting game that he made all in Java, with his own hand drawn art. And yeah, he basically did everything himself. And it was based on a comic that he had been writing for some time. So I thought that was really cool. Like, I never expected someone to be doing something like this in Zambia. And he actually has an updated version of it that he was working on. I believe that was the sequel with updated sprites, and updated UI, updated battle, and all that kind of stuff. So this new shiny thing that I saw was something that inspired me to be more involved in what's happening in game development in Zambia. So yeah, that was like the beginning of what I of my perspective on the Zambian game development scene. And from then, at Bongo Hive, which is a tech and business incubator, I was a bit more involved in directly by helping organize events. This was the first event ever at the space. It was called the Game Dev Weekend, and it was simply people coming together to watch E3 videos and learn a bit more about game development. So there were videos, there was another room where people were showing kind of show and tell, and another room where people were learning programming by making games. Um, let's see. Yeah. So this next slide shows two different events. The first one was actually still a part of Game Dev Weekend, where people are learning how to code in Python by making games. And the right side is a game development event that came afterwards where people were using Unity. So this was still in 2013. People were very explorative, and people were very excited and explorative. Like, people were really interested in trying new things and like, oh, what's this game engine? What can I do with it? I believe the things which people were using were C sharp, C sharp just by itself, trying to make games, or using XNA, Unity, Stencil, Construct, and Python. So people were trying a bunch of stuff to make games. And also we learned that, we have some really cool graphics people in Zambia. So this is someone who was modeling the head of a dragon in Blender, I believe. Um, yeah, and we had some other interesting graphics people, but I don't have pictures of their work here. But yeah, people who were doing 2D sprites, and some people who more recently, there's someone in our community who is pretty big on pixel art as well. And this is a competition from the same year, I believe, or might have been the year after, where two teams were making games. And this here is one of the games from, oh no, this here is the game from the winning team. It was a game made in Stencil that was about, um, it was a game called Mr. Square, and it's about a man who is a square. He's a pretty mundane, strict guy, and he was going around his neighborhood and he was trying to rid it of these bobble-headed teens that look like mushrooms, and when they explode they have a rainbow psychedelic effect. And this was really cool, and seeing what people are making is something that is really exciting because you get to see how creative people are, even when they're just being exposed to game development for the first time, using tools that are easily accessible. And that's something which has continued to happen at game jams and workshops that have been held in Lusaka, Zambia. And even though we were having game jams, there were some people who had been working on games outside that that we didn't know about. But when they came into our community, we got to see some really talented people working on their own games. So this is a game called Star Scooter, which is inspired by Mega Man, and it's, I don't know how to describe it. It's really awesome. Like I at the time, again, I couldn't believe that. So I couldn't believe this is something that someone did, and he had been working on it for years, and he has a whole multi, I don't know how many page backstory, how many page story for this game. But people are really talented, although they might be hard to find, or they were hard to find at the time. Now that people are more on social media, and now that we have a group on Facebook, it's easier to see what people are doing. um, yeah, so this is Alistair playing his game, Star Scooter. And yeah, it's still, oh, it was a demo at the time, but now he's finished it. And if you can check out his Facebook page to see updates. He's working on the sequel right now. Yeah. And this is another interesting game that came into light after we started having community events. Oh, at the time it was called Mr. Ripley, but this isn't how it continued. And this was when this is by Mwaba Mugala, and he's just started. Um, I'm not sure, but I think like this was his early days using Unity, and right now the game has evolved into something completely different, something called Project Loompa, which is based on a true Zambian story, true Zambian lore, about a cult in Zambia and the leader. It's a horror psychological game. And he is still working on it, but as you can see, it's a big evolution from what it was at the beginning. So people are continuously working on their stuff. That is pretty cool. And besides that, something else that has been happening in the Zambian game development scene is trying to get more women involved in game development. So this is a workshop that happened in 2017, called Games Plus Girls, and it was a workshop where that actually was hosted every year since 2015, and the goal was to get more girls, or more women involved in Global Game Jam. So this was the third time it was hosted, I believe. And yeah, let's see how it went. Usually the workshops are small, but oh, this is a different workshop, but usually the workshops are small, but um, they there are a lot of different people that come to the workshops and people with different ideas. So a good activity we would start with at some of the workshops was paper prototyping, which is something anyone can do. And it's a good way to get good design ideas out of people or get people flexing their design muscles. Um, yeah, so that's paper prototyping. And from paper prototyping, you can kind of get an idea of what people's strengths are or what people are more interested in as they get more comfortable with game development, and it's easier to make plans for what people are doing. So this was from the 2017 workshop I mentioned earlier, after we broke up into teams, um, and we were planning a game together. This is level design from the game we were working on, or a level being designed. Like someone drew the house area for the game, and it was made into an actual house. I forget what software was used for this, but eventually it did end up in Game Maker Studio, and it's supposed to be a gray. The game is supposed to be all in gray. Yeah, this game got lost in the void among a lot of other games. A lot of other games have been lost in the void. And we also had interactive fiction workshops. So this is Twine, and Twine again is another tool that lets people get into game development really easily. So it was also a good way to see people get to flex their design muscles again. Um, but just telling people all you have to do is write, and these are simple ways to make your story interactive. And with that, you get to see a whole lot of ideas. Lombe, who's in the call, made a horror game out of it, and yeah, like that's one of the things you can do with Twine, or one of the things we saw with Twine. Another thing we saw was for the first time after the Twine workshops we did for the first time, there was an all woman team in Global Game Jam because they got so comfortable and they loved working with Twine that they decided to work on a pirate escape game. I forget what the theme for that Global Game Jam was, but they ended up making a pirate escape game. I think it might have been Waves. It might have been Waves. Yeah. And these are the ladies from the workshop, us all standing together. This is 2017, and the workshop grew a bit more with a more diverse set of people, lots more artists, and people of all backgrounds. So this is 2018. And yeah, once again, working with Twine, very interesting tool that people love, and I think it's something which I will keep recommending to people to get started with game development if they want to try it out. And we're still, although we're offline right now, we're still able to have events together. So this is from Global Game Jam this year, and we have Nerd Otaku, which is a kind of nerd community in Zambia meeting up for Global Game Jam 2021. And yeah, so that's it on the history and some of the history of the Zambian game development scene based on pictures that I could find. There are a lot of moments that might have been missed, a lot of games that might have been missed because they haven't been captured. So something to remember for the future is to make sure we capture all these games. And yeah, so that's it. Uh, we have some videos.
Over the years, we've been hosting various beginners game development workshops, but something we noticed and decided to put more effort into is the fact that there are very few women making games in Africa. This is how our Games Plus Girls initiative was born. We've been doing this not only to get more women and girls involved in game development, but getting them more interested in using technology to express themselves, tell their own stories, create digital narratives, and, just get a feel for what technology can do for them. Our workshops focus on giving the basic tools for design and programming, and rapidly prototyping games that can be worked on further if they so desire. For our 2018 Games Plus Girls workshop, we were able to manage a larger group with better resources and include a public event that celebrated the contributions of women in games around the world alongside the ladies that attended our events. These workshops are always a great experience to host and really insightful for what can be done to get more women in Africa making games.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. My name is Lil and today we are gonna play a game. This game is a game that I made with my brother slash cousin Chileshe, aka Creatureman. We made this game at Global Platform. He did the art. Like, we made this game in like a couple hours, and I think we made it how many years ago? Let me see. Yeah, 1st of February 2016 at the Global Game Jam. I named the first name I gave the game was The Little Wooden Box, and I changed it to Ritual. So let's see how it goes. I don't remember much about the game. I know the general plot. I can't remember. I haven't played it in years. You frantically look around the house trying to find her and realize that she is missing. Marigold would never leave the house that early in the morning without telling you, and she would never leave her box behind. What do? So you rush back to Marigold's room and look on her bedside table, or you run to your mother. I don't know what the correct answer is here. So I guess I'm going to pick run to, because I mean the mom is sickly, so I feel like my thought process, let me not try and Jedi mind trick past low and just fucking pick something. So I think I'm just gonna go back to her room. Your mortal eyes are not equipped to read the scrolls. You start to rub your eyes. The rubbing gets more and more vigorous, and before you know it, you are clawing out your eyes and screaming. You lie on the floor, letting out bloody gurgles as you dig out your eyes while rolling around frantically in your own blood. You die when you start gouging out your brain through your sockets. Sweetie, are you okay? You have failed your sister. Why am I so dramatic?
Okay, so we're back, and you just saw some videos from what happens in the Zambian game development scene. The first video was Games Plus Girls Workshop, or about the Games Plus Girls Workshop. The second video was Lombe, who's here playing her game that she made in Twine, and the last video was a trailer for a game by Waza, who is also here. So I'm going to let the speakers introduce themselves first. We'll start with Waza.
And have a little over a year of experience in the engine. I've made a few game prototypes, mainly during game jams, and I recently released a beta for my game on itch.io.
Awesome. We'll check that out.
Thanks.
Next, Lombe.
Hi, my name is Lombe and I'm from Lusaka, Zambia. I am not necessarily a game developer. I made my first game with Twine. It's a horror game, The Little Wooden Box, during Global Game Jam. I'm pretty sure, I don't remember which year, but like, yeah, it was very interesting to say the least. It's still bare bones, but I think it's still fun to play.
Cool. And also, don't forget, you're also an organizer for Women Game Jam this year.
I do help organize game jams, especially women's game jams. Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna ask you about that later. And last but not least, Chipo, introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Chipo Hamidja from Mazabuka in Zambia, and I'm a cloud developer at Bantu Accounting Innovations. I've been making prototypes or concepts for various types of games, and I've been using Unity for 4 years now. Apart from game development, I've been developing softwares for 6 years. Yeah. And this is when I'm planning to release not just a prototype, but a full game to be my first release. Yeah, that's all about me.
Nice, Chipo. So there are a lot of firsts in this group. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna get right into some questions for us to discuss. So my first question to all of you is, when did you first learn about the Zambian game development scene? I'm going to start with Chipo.
I learned about Zambian game developers late last year. That was after I joined a group, a Facebook group with a related activity, Zambia Facebook Developers Circle Lusaka. When I joined, Zambian Game Developers Group appeared on the list of suggested groups I would join. So yeah, that's how I joined it, and it was interesting because it was hard to find game developers in Zambia. So it was interesting seeing that there's a community for that. So that's how I joined it.
Nice. That's a great thing about online spaces. A lot more people are able to reach them. Next, Lombe. So when did you find out about Zambian game developers?
The first time I heard about Zambian game developers was probably 2014, I think, where I heard about both the Global Game Jam and the Women's Game Jam, or I don't know if it was like the girl, I don't remember which one, but I found I had missed both of them. And I had missed them because I thought you needed to have experience in like coding and all those other things. But then you actually told me that no, you don't need any coding experience. And there are different engines that you teach people how to use and make games. So in 2015, that's when I actually attended the Global Game Jam. And that's where I made the horror game with Twine, with my brother doing the art, and I did the story in the program. So yeah, it was actually so, I couldn't believe I had made like a whole game out of it. I was so impressed with myself. But like, yeah, that's the first time I was introduced to the world of game development.
Gosh, that's so nice to hear. Glad you're excited about what you made. Glad you're proud of what you made too.
I'm so proud of it.
Next, Waza, when did you first hear about Zambian game development?
Well, I heard about the group. A friend of mine had introduced me to Mwaba Mugala. And whilst we were chatting, and this was when I started working on my game, we were chatting, and he recommended that I join the Zambian Game Developers Facebook group. And that was when I actually got introduced to the community. Before that, the only game developers I knew were Chipo and Mwaba.
Okay,
So it really
nice.
helped me know other game devs in the community.
Okay, no, that's nice to hear. And a fun fact is that all three of our speakers are from different cities. In fact, all of us here are actually in different cities or from different cities. Next question is, we started gathering in 2013 in Zambia. What do you think our gatherings will be like 2 years from now? That will be 10 years after the Zambian game development community kind of started gathering. Um, I'll start with Waza.
So I'm pretty new, but well, it would depend with what our current situation, how it would be after 2 years. So how it could go about is it could actually be carried on online via Discord, since we already have a Discord server for Zambian game developers. But when the country finally opens up, physical meetings would be nice. And since I am new, I would really love to attend a physical game development meeting.
All right, that's great. Chipo, what do you think our gatherings will be like 2 years from now?
I've never attended any gathering, so I'll just say what I hope to see. That's physical gatherings because um, I just feel they're better than online gatherings. It's easy to work together you are all in one way place, and it's easy to communicate that way. Yeah, that's what I hope to see. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Yeah. Also looking forward to more physical gatherings. And Lombe, especially as someone who organizes events, what are you looking for? What are you hoping to see 2 years from now in our
I'm
gatherings?
hoping I'm hoping to see more events that are outside Global Game Jam. I'm hoping to see more events including children, children in even rural areas, like just different gatherings which are not under the umbrella of Global Game Jam, because right now that's the only one we have access to here. But I think it would even help finding people who are still difficult to find because they exist. They're all over Zambia. So I think if we have more organizations and more people organizing uh, game devs, I think we'll find more people who will find their tribe, and will have more access to people who they need to help finish their games, and people who they can ask for advice. So that's what I hope to see in the next 2 years.
Nice. And touching on that, like I'm also interested in all that. And on top of that, I'm also interested in seeing yeah, people from different gatherings happening in different cities because from learning that there are people like Waza and Chipo who aren't necessarily always in Lusaka. Because all our game development events have happened in Lusaka, except Global
Yeah.
Game Jam. But like, it will be nice to see people just having events and just making games from wherever they are. And yeah. My next question is, why do you think people love Global Game Jam so much? And I'll start with Lombe.
I think people love it so much because you get a theme. It helps get your creative juices flowing when you have a theme, and you get to work with all sorts of people with different talents, people who can make songs, people who can draw, people who have coding experience, and it just helps you create something of your own. You know what I mean? Like, you always, when you look at these games that we play on PlayStation or on your Switch, you feel so intimidated. But with Global Game Jam, you're introduced to different mediums that you can use to actually create your own games. And I think that's why people like it. Yeah, especially for me, that's why I like it.
Great. I don't know Chipo and Waza, so I don't know if either of you have attended a global game jam before. I'll start with Chipo. Have you attended a global game jam before, and why do you think people love them so much?
Um, I don't think I've not attended one. Though there's was the previous one we participated in with Toyota. What was it?
That was the Game Jam Plus.
Oh yeah, so I've never participated in Global Game Jam, so I have
Okay,
nothing to say on this one.
okay. Well, since you haven't participated in global game jam, but you participated in Game Jam Plus, what did you find exciting about that?
Uh, what was exciting is how teammates would work together in little time and have something done effectively, especially in the last minutes. Like that's when people are very effective when it's about to end. Yeah. So that was interesting because I remember we had the challenge. I've forgotten in the last minute, and yeah, it was interesting the way we figured it out together, and yeah, submitted our game.
Yeah,
Though
the
we
last
didn't
minute
continue.
rush.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we qualified for the first phase. It was had three phases. We qualified for the first one. Uh, then we never. I don't know why we never continued. I think we just everyone just got busy with other things. Yeah.
Oh, understandable. But yeah, the last minute rush is a thing. Waza, how did you find Game Jam Plus?
A Game Jam Plus, as Chip has already said, for me, game jams in general, it's just the thrill of the challenge. Plus, it's really nice when you've been working on other projects to just have something else to refresh your mind while also giving you a challenge as well. And that's why game jams are actually nice. As Chico said, we could not continue with Game Jam Plus because we all had other things to do. I was just starting university at the time, so I couldn't have a lot of time to work on games and such.
Right. Nice to hear. And my next question for all of you is, have you ever played games from other Zambian developers? And do you have any recommendations? So I will start with Chipo on this one.
Yeah, the first game I've played is by Harry Banda called is it Spin Blaster, something like that.
Yeah, Spin Blaster.
Yeah, it's the first game I've played by Zambian, and it's interesting. And I've also played two of Waza's game jam submissions, Corruption in the Dark and is it Electron Dash? Yeah, they're all interesting games. Yeah. I like the Waza lays out his graphics. I don't know, it's good. It's something special with him. Yeah, in all his games.
Yeah, the minimalist design. I also like that. I also like
Yeah.
Waza's minimalism with his game. Lombe, have you played any Zambian games and do you have any recommendations?
Unfortunately, I haven't played any, but I have seen Alistair play a good amount of his game, Star Scooter, and I think it's really good. And I hope that it does find its way on the market because it's a platform game. It's like really, really entertaining, and it's really, really well done. But yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him play through it. He plays it like he speed runs through his game. Although it's he speed runs through it. Although it's a challenge, it was a challenge for me. So I would recommend people trying that one out. That's Star Scooter by Alistair Mwase Fury. Yeah, Waza, have you played any games from other Zambian developers, and do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, the one game that I've actually put most time in was Spin Blaster by Harry Banda. And it's one that I recommend a lot. Is the fact that it's very accessible and it runs on my very kind of useless device is very nice. So I really recommend Spin Blaster.
Yeah, I also recommend it because I remember a time when I was in the leaderboards. I managed to get in the top, I think once, but people quickly overtook me and I dropped down. But yeah, it was a pretty fun game. It is still a pretty fun game, so would recommend that. And Waza's games and Star Scooter. Yeah. So my next question is, uh, we don't see, or the activity in the Zambian game development scene goes up and then it dies down, goes up and it dies down. Why do you think it is so inconsistent? Why do you think that activity in the Zambian game development scene is so inconsistent? I'll start with Lombe.
I think it's inconsistent because unfortunately, where we live in Zambia, skills like game development are not really prioritized. So people, though they're passionate about making games, passionate about learning how to do it, there are not many places that would, help make that like a living for them. So they have to focus on studying other things, working in different jobs. So it kind of falls on the back burner, and it's labor intensive, making games. So it slows down to like a snail's pace, or some people just drop it altogether because they need to prioritize, finding money for rent, finding money for school fees, finding money for food. So I feel like in Zambia, unfortunately, we're not allowed to think of it as a career path in that sense. And there's not many organizations or companies willing to make that a reality for a lot of our talented game developers here, and it's also expensive. So yeah. That's why
True,
I think it slows down.
true. Okay, okay. True. So, Chipo, what do you think? Why do you think the activity in the game development scene is so inconsistent?
Um, okay, Lombi has said it all, but just to add on, from what she has said, um, that it doesn't inspire anyone to be a game developer because yeah, like no one motivates you to develop games. Yeah, because yeah, everything Lombia said. Yeah,
True, true, true. People like teachers and anyone else, like a lot of people will not motivate people to go into game development because it's
yeah, that's true.
not seen as a career. Very true. Waza, do you have anything to add?
Everything has been said. It's just that there's mostly lack of motivation in Zambia. You might be playing a game trying to get motivation, and people might see it as wasting time. Even programming, since it's not taught in a lot of schools, it's a choice subject. It's not something that everyone has to take. So that's also one problem that might not make people who are interested in the field actually go for it.
Okay. Yeah, we need more programming education and just general arts education as well in Zambia. So to close off, I'm going to ask each of you a question to answer. So we'll start with Waza again. Waza, what do you want to do in the future?
So I'm currently pursuing a degree in software engineering, and in the future, if possible, I would actually like to make a living off making games.
That's awesome, and we hope you will do it. In fact, I believe you will do it. I really believe you will do it. I believe in you, Waza. So I'm
Thanks.
excited to see that. Chipo, my question for you is tell us about the game you're planning.
Uh, the game I'm planning, it's an FPS mobile game. And it's story driven, and it have at least middle end graphics, which low end devices of nowadays can run without noticeable lags in performance, if any. And on the game mechanics, I plan to include a variety from ranged weapons to hand-to-hand mechanics as part of the core gameplay or on mobile.
All right, cool. Sounds like you've thought about the design for it pretty well.
Yeah.
And yeah, last but not least, Lombe. So you're organizing Women Game Jam, which is happening in August. What are you excited about for Women Game Jam, Zambia?
I'm excited to see a lot of women who have no idea about coding make games and tell stories, because I know a lot of people that I approached about it, they were hesitant because they thought they needed coding experience, but the people that I approached are very creative. So when I explained to them that they don't need any experience, everything they need will be explained to them and taught to them. They were very excited. So I'm very excited to see what people create this year.
That's awesome. And when is Women Game Jam? Just in case anyone's watching and wants to join in.
It is in the second last week of August. Am I?
Yeah.
Is that yeah?
I'll correct you. Like, yeah, no, it's second last week of August. It's from the 20th to the 22nd in Zambia, with
Yeah.
workshops happening from the 16th. All right. And yeah, that's it for my questions to everyone for our discussion. I don't know if we have time for any questions from the audience. Do we? Sorry? Oh, okay. Yeah, are there any questions from the audience? I don't know. I don't think so. But if you guys want us to answer any questions, we can answer them in the Discord server. And that's it for the session. Sorry, that's it for the session.